Awesome. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Samuel Feliz. I'm here with my co-hosting with my friend Aditon, and this is H.O.P.S. We're really excited to have you here. Today's the second day of our master class, and we have a really exciting topic today with an expert on the matter. So we're really happy to join us. Before we move forward with the topic, let me introduce H.O.P.S to you. So H.O.P.S was founded 6 years ago by Bola Adesope and Taiwo Abraham. It was more of a solution to a need that many professionals were actually asking for help, asking for help on how to succeed, how to move forward with their career. Either seasoned professionals or entry level. Bola and Taiwo put a program together, a really nice program that divides into different initiatives. So this is one of this masterclass. So I will put the link to our website so you can go there and actually take a look of our initiatives. But we have, for example, some of our Accelerate, which is a 6-week mentoring program. We match a mentor and a mentee, and they help them out with their career, whatever the transition might be, either to a different role or industry. We have Career Hack, where every quarter we bring experts on different topics to teach and provide the latest insights on the industry. Same thing from Campus Drive, going directly to universities. We have Fireside Chat, we invite professionals, and we have a interactive, let's say, Q&A for different topics. So that's what H.O.P.S is. It's been around for 6 years. So far, helped hundreds of professionals. I'm one of them. I'm a very proud product of H.O.P.S. And yes, it's just great. I'm happy to really help. Like the name is, helping other people to succeed. So now I'm gonna introduce our expert for today. Is Basil Nwogu, an expert on business analytics, project management, software testing, and he's with us today to help us with the presentation we have today, Figma, which is a product and application design and wireframes. So he can do a better job introducing himself, but I'll pass it along to Basil. Thank you, Basil.
Thank you so much, Samuel. My name is Basil Mogu, and thank you everyone for joining. Um, my name is Basil Mogu. I reside in Canada, and I'll be taking us on Figma, basically product and system design using Figma. Yesterday we got our feet wet with product management, and I remember the trainer talking about product design and how it's relevant to get your ideas across and things like that. So I'm going to get us into that today, and we'll be using a tool, Figma. So there are many other tools that you can use for this, but Figma is one of them. And I've been a business analyst for a couple of years, about 16 years, and I've worked in different domains, mostly banking, but I've also worked in mining. I've worked in FCMG. I've worked with government and in different capacities. And without much ado, I'll be putting up my slides and sharing my screen. So I believe we can all see my screen. So like I said, today's topic would be basically product and systems design with Figma. And here is a little bit about myself. Like I said, Basil Mogu, 18 years in different IT domains. And my current role is lead business analyst. I have these capabilities, training, facilitation, change management, and my hobbies are volunteering, reading, writing, and movies. Now, today's course content are the below, and at the end of the course, we should be familiar with the various concepts: design and business analysis and product management, what are wireframes, mockups, prototypes, types of mockups, anatomy of mockups, types of prototypes, design best practice, and prototyping tools. And the course objectives: understanding design tools and techniques, developing clear and actionable design documents, and facilitate better collaboration between teams. So I'm going to read these slides, but the meat of the matter is going to be when we launch Figma. And also, Bola just sent you a link for you to register in Figma. And the reason is we want this to be very interactive, hands-on, so you go along as I design. So if you haven't, please go ahead and click the link and register. The option, for this should obviously be the free version. The free version has some restrictions. You can't create more than one project and all. So also, if you're able to, you can go for the paid version. So, design and business analysis and product management involves creating wireframes, mockups, and prototypes to visually represent system requirements. And it focuses on structural user interfaces, enhancing user experience, and ensuring functional alignment with business goals. Now, as a business analyst, we come up with a lot of artifacts, document with several words, the functional requirements, the non-functional requirements. We do the data flow diagrams, we do process maps, we describe a lot of things. And over the years, I find that, while those are good, you don't really get full participation until you've presented your stakeholders with the prototype or the wireframes or the mockups. Everything is words, words swimming in their heads, and they're trying to imagine what the system would look like. But once you present them with mockups, you'll see that people, wake up immediately and they're contributing, they're making changes, the participation level goes from here to here, and that's the role of mockups in system design. Now, I always let people know that mockups are invaluable when you're actually gathering requirements. You sit, even when you've had one-on-one with subject matter experts, they give you what they want, but as a business analyst, I've come to realize also that people really do not know the full detail or the full ramifications of what they are requesting. So, and that's why we've moved away from requirement gathering to requirement elicitation, because requirement gathering would typically assume that the requirements are there and then you walk in, you gather them, and you move. But requirement elicitation means that you're using tools to pull the requirements out of the business, out of the subject matter experts, So that's why we need this kind of tools: prototypes, mockups, wireframes, etc. Now, it also coming to the second point here, it also helps the developers, gives them direction. Apart from help giving the developers direction, it helps um, with good user experience for the end customer, because you run these mockups by the users, they make corrections, and like the previous user talked about empathy. When you also have the user's best interest at heart, then you design for the user, right? Rather than, writing it out and having anybody, maybe the developer just playing it out as they feel it should, you actually give it some form of structure. Then why do we design? So the design process, like I said, is requirement gathering or requirement elicitation. And why we take our time in doing this is because it clarifies requirement. You know, you might be building a simple form and you've stated that the form should contain the person's personal information, the person's academic information, the person's financial information, and the field should be the person's name, address, and all. Now, address written out in words, it's is address, right? But when you lay it out on a screen, then you'll find inputs like, oh, the address should be broken down into first address, address one, address two, zip code, country, and all that. And that is actually the final details that you want, which brings me, reminds me of a situation where a system was designed in Nigeria for elections, and it was designed by in another country, I can't remember where, and it wasn't designed. And as you can imagine, several millions went into the design of the system. But something as simple as the address information section led to full rework of the system, because we as users we see the front end interface, but behind there are a lot of things that are in consideration, like the data modeling, the data tables, the how the tables are linked up, and things like that. So that simple mistake where province was used instead of local government, and some other terminologies that weren't relatable within Nigeria, led to a full redesign of the system and several millions as well to redesign the system. So those are some of the things we try to avoid as business analysts or product managers. There's something called the cost of rework, right? And it can be from little to very high in monetary terms, and you really don't want to be the person behind the development of that system. So it also facilitates stakeholder communication. It helps to identify potential issues early on. So when you're modeling processes, and then designing your prototypes, you kind of tend to find out things that could be potential issues. It reduces rework, thus saving cost and time, and it bridges the gap between conceptual ideas and tangible designs. So a lot of times, people are presented with the conceptual ideas around what they have requested, right? The business is given 60-page of documents laying out how their ideas are going to be designed. Now, it ensures that the final product meets user needs and business objectives. That point I've already talked about. Now, the term wireframes, mockups, and prototypes are always used interchangeably, and even some very experienced business analysts really do not know if there is a difference, right? So, say design wireframe, design mockups, design prototypes. And I think over the years, most people have come to settle with the term prototyping, right? Which to cover everything, wireframes, mockups, and prototypes. But is there a difference between these three? And that's what we're going to dive into now. So wireframes um, are basic low fidelity blueprints of a web page or app. And the words there, low fidelity blueprints, the operative words, are things, the words we should consider for wireframes. They are low fidelity. That's the distinguishing phrase there. Low fidelity blueprints. And they focus on layout and structure rather than detailed design. And the purpose is to establish the structure and placement of elements without getting distracted by details. So you're not really concerned with the justification of your text within the page. You're not concerned with, where your logo placement or the theme, the color theme and things like that. You just want to lay out the idea, and from there, kind of build the foundation for more discussions. And the features, simple black and white or grayscale sketches, and then focus on placement of elements such as navigation buttons, images, and content blocks. No color, typography, or detailed graphics. So you're not going into details. You just want a general layout. And the tools you can use to achieve this, you have Balsamic, you have Sketch, you have Adobe XD, you have Figma, you have wireframe.cc. And these are like what wireframes look like. As you can see on the on the last image, those boxes are basically placeholders for maybe pictures. And so you're not, really attaching pictures. Here, there are no logos. But this kind of gives a general idea of how things would be laid out. And then we move on to mockups. Mockups are high fidelity static designs. So I'm rushing through this to afford us the time to really go into the practical. So mockups are high fidelity static designs that represent the visual design of a web page or app. And the purpose is to provide a detailed visual representation of the final product, including colors, typography, images, and branding. So in mockups are like a, a step higher than wireframes, and they include colors, typography, images, and branding. And the features full color and detailed graphics, and it incorporates the actual design elements and visual style. Static images that do not include interactivity. So, it's static. Both wireframes and mockups are static. And then the tools, Adobe Photoshop, Sketch, Figma, InVision Studio, and Adobe XD. And this is how a mockup looks like. This is basically how the application or the website is going to look like. You know, the color, theme, and everything is considered in design of a mockup. And a lot of times, if a good job is done, when you place the actual side by side the mockup, you can't tell which is which. And then we have this is like our guiding light, the anatomy of a mockup. So basically, these are things to be considered when you're designing mockup. Your layout and structure. So you have the grid system, you have your header, your footer, your sidebar, your main content area. So we're going to be discussing the grid system and all these components when we launch Figma. Then you have your typography, basically your fonts and your style. Then you have your color scheme. You have palette. You have what we call hexadecimal codes. And then you have your RGB, you have your text color. So we're going to look at all these as well. How, excuse me, how you can maybe request the hexadecimal codes from the graphics department, for example, when you're designing a mock-up, so you do not use colors that are not approved within the organization. And at times, instead of the hexadecimal codes, you might also be requesting for the RBG colors, and then you can, within the application, create your customized color palettes for reuse. Then you have visual elements, your images, your icons, your logos, your branding, your buttons. You have your interactive elements, your forms, your navigation menus, your links. You have your content, your text and your video content. You have your spacing and alignment, your margins and paddings, your alignment. You have your annotations and notes. And so notes help us in collaborating. So if, for example, there are two business analysts working on a design, and you would ask, why would two or three people be working on a design? You might need to create about 20 pages, and one person can be given the task of looking for maybe images. Another person would get logos, icons, and things like that. So there's the opportunity to collaborate on designs, and within Figma you can create a team, and everybody within the team would have access to the design canvas and can make inputs and can also leave notes there. And we'll be discussing all that. And then we'll go over to prototypes. So we've discussed wireframes, we've discussed mockups. So wireframes are low fidelity, mockups are high fidelity, but they are static. And then your prototypes are interactive, also high fidelity. So that's basically the difference between mockups and prototypes. While mockups are high fidelity static, your prototypes are high fidelity interactive. And a lot of time, mockups actually have codes behind them, right? So mockups could be actually developed with the assistance of a developer, or if you're a UI UX person, if you're a front end developer, then you can create more prototypes, and so they are interactive. And at times, the prototype can make its way into the final product. So a developer can create a prototype, a basic prototype that he just wants to demo to the stakeholders to get their input on the functionality. So in that case, the objective is not to showcase the look and feel, but just the functionality. Tell me if this works well. And um, in the balance of prototype design, that is now a low fidelity prototype. So prototypes could also be low fidelity, high fidelity, and all. But generally, prototypes are interactive high fidelity representation. So here we have side by side the differences and similarities between wireframes, mockups, and prototypes. Now, there's a prototyping model phases, and prototyping usually starts with the requirements, and from requirements you move into quick design, and then you build your prototype, and here you have your loop. So from user evaluation, you show your prototype to users, and then there is you get feedback from the users, and you keep refining your prototype. So it keeps getting into loop here until you're done, and then you implement and maintain. So the user evaluation and your refining prototype is the point of rinse and repeat. So the users evaluate, they give you, they make suggestions, and you implement, and then they evaluate again, and it keeps going in circles. Now we have the advantages of prototyping. Not really different from the advantages of system design. So you have better quality system delivered. It helps to identify problems early on. There's end user involvement. It helps to fulfill user requirements. There's cost savings, training. So the prototype can eventually be used to help train staff while the real system is still being fully developed. And then you have disadvantages of prototyping. So there can be user confusion where, something was demoed to the users at the prototyping stage, and then when the system goes live, they are seeing a totally different thing, So there can be that confusion, and then there might be excessive time spent on developing the prototype instead of the actual system. Then there might be too much focus on one part of the system during prototyping, which leaves other parts of the system either poorly conceptualized or even poorly designed. Then, time is tied to money, right? If excessive time is spent in developing prototype, it can flow into other areas, making the whole endeavor very expensive. So types of prototypes. Remember I said earlier on that over the years, it's almost like every mock-ups, wireframes, and prototypes have somehow come under one umbrella, and the general name is now prototypes. In several design circles. When you talk prototypes, it could basically mean wireframes or mock-ups. So there are different types of prototypes, and you have your paper prototypes, which there is another name for. You call them throwaway prototypes. You could be out with a colleague, and while you're having coffee, you discuss the system you're designing, and he gives you ideas, and you put it down on a mock-up, on a paper cloth, you know, and you're just putting it there. So when you get into the office, you transfer it into a more permanent place, and that is what we call the throwaway prototype. It doesn't make it into um, your software like Figma. Then you have your digital low fidelity prototype, and there is basic interactivity. You have your static high fidelity prototype. Interactivity is none, but fidelity is high. And then you have your interactive high fidelity. So there's high fidelity and there is high interactivity. You have your clickable wireframes. Now, wireframes are supposed to be static, right? But there are techniques that can make it look like, they are interactive. But basically, what just happens is you're making it clickable. You have your HTML, CSS prototypes. They are high fidelity. They are also high interactivity, and provides a realistic experience with basic interactivity. You have your simulated prototypes, high fidelity, high interactivity, and the purpose is to test detailed interactions and user experience. You have your role-playing prototypes, basically to test overall experience and user journey. And then you have your technical prototypes to validate technical feasibility and performance. So we have different screen design tools. I just put a few here. On other slides, I'm sure you've seen Sketch, you've seen Adobe XD and others. So something that a lot of people don't know is you can also create wireframes in PowerPoint. Then you can create wireframes or prototypes using app.diagrams.net. You can also prototype using Balsamiq and Figma. So, but our focus is going to be on Figma today. Balsamiq is also another incredible tool. But I always say if you know one, it makes it easier to know how to use another one. Usually takes about 2 or 3 days to become familiar with another tool. And then the design tips. Number one is always start with a paper sketch. Then you decide on your presentation medium. So are you designing for the tablet, for computer, for phone? Then you decide on your prototyping tool. Is it Balsamiq, is it PowerPoint, etc. And then you create and title your screens. So titling is very important because you can have several variations of a screen. You can have your home page that's one screen. You can have your home page where a certain section of the page has been interacted with how it would look. You can have your home page where maybe the user that logged on is an administrator. You can have your home page where the user that logged on, is maybe a student or whatever. So you can have several variations of one page, and that's why it's good to title them. Then come up with screen fields. So what are the fields that are going to be on the screen? and what are the general content. Then you come up with your categorize with your navigation. So you can categorize your form screens, and this should give you an idea of navigation. So for example, you've just been given your web designer, excuse me, your web designer, you've been given content by the business. Now you can, and they haven't laid out how the interface is going to be. Like there should be a page for this, and so you read through the document, you try to categorize information, and the categorization of information would help you decide on the menu that would be on the website or application or whatever. And then for user options, use drop downs, check boxes and radio buttons. Note, radio buttons and drop down fields are for single option selection. Checkboxes can be for single or multiple option selection. And that's all for the slides. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. So I'll dedicate 5 minutes to answering questions on the slides, and then we can go into Figma. But has anyone clicked on the link and registered on Figma, figma.com? Okay. So any questions? So if there are no questions, I'll pan out of this, and then we'll go into Figma. So if you've gone ahead and registered on Figma, you should see something similar to this. So like I said, you have the free Figma, and then you have the paid Figma. Now for the free Figma, if I attempted, so I have a project here already, right? Team project. If I attempted to create another project, it's going to present me with this option, with this screen, sorry. And it would have a call to action, to upgrade to professional. And for the professional, you have your Figma design, which is $16, and Figma Jam, which is $4. But would be using Figma design. So if you want to pay for this, you can go ahead and upgrade. If, for example, you're intending on going beyond one project at this stage. Now, if you have the paid Figma, if you attempt to create a project, then it's going to give you this, the option to create a project, enter the project name. So for this project, I'll call it H.O.P.S design. So you can follow along. And do I want to invite people? So if I'm working with a team, I can enter their email addresses or their names, and decide on what access to give them. So can they view only, or can they um, if there are other permissions, you can give it to them. Can they edit? Can they view? So if you want the person to only view and not mess up your, maybe they don't have design experience, not mess up your design, then you give them just the view. But if you want them to also collaborate with you and make edits, then you can give them the edit um, permission. So I'll just go ahead and create the project. So you get these options. Are you drawing a basic diagram? Is it a daily sync? Is it for team meeting agenda? So there are several templates, you know. So you have templates for brainstorming. So you have quarterly brainstorm, you have your reverse brainstorming template, you have brainstorming crazy eights. There are several skills, that you can accomplish here within, or techniques, sorry, that you can accomplish here within Figma. Then you have different diagrams. You have anti-relationship diagrams. You have your flow chart. You have your affinity diagrams. For planning, you have project kickoff meeting. You have project retrospectives. You have roadmap review for meetings. So we are not using any of the templates. So we'll just go ahead and click on design file. And it loads for you with the Figma logo, telling you the progress. And so you give it a couple of seconds to load. All right, that's taking a while. Now, so this is for the web version, right? There is also the desktop version, and the desktop version looks like this. So how do you get to the website, to the desktop version? Excuse me. You go to figma.com/downloads. Now it gives you this interface. Now you have your desktop app, you have your mobile app, and you have your font installers. Now for font installers, if you're using the web version, you can install the font installers on your system. But if you're using the desktop version, it already comes with font installer, so you don't need to download that. Now there's what we call mirroring. So when you've designed for the client and you want to present to them, there is a presentation link at the top right corner of Figma. Or if you're designing and you want to see how it looks on different media, you can use the presentation icon. But mirroring helps you to, while you're designing and you have your phone beside you, You can mirror, let's say you're designing for phone or for mobile. You can mirror the design onto your phone and see how it looks real time on your phone. So that's what these apps are for. This is for desktop and these are for your mobile. So for your Android or for your iOS, if you have an Apple phone, you download this and it would help mirror onto your Apple phone. If you have your Android, you download this and it will help mirror onto your Android and you see how it looks real time, whether the logo is too big, too small, whether the text is suitable, all that. So it pretty much helps you make realistic designs. So if you want to download for your Windows, or for your Mac, you click on this and download. So I will not be doing that in this presentation. So we'll go back to this guy. And for some reason, he's taking a while. Excuse me. So voila, we have the interface. So we're going to discuss a couple of things on the interface. At the top, we have a couple of icons. On the left hand corner, on the right hand corner. So we'll go over them one after the other. So here we have what we call the hamburger menu, right? So hamburger menu is if you use a phone, if you see three strokes at the top, maybe right hand corner or top left hand corner, that's usually the hamburger menu. But here they use the Figma logo, for the hamburger menu. And why you need the hamburger menu is, phones don't have the same real estate as your laptop, for example. So you don't have that much space at the top to put all the menus. So you have something like the hamburger menu to hide the menus and only reveal them when you click on it. So when you click on the hamburger menu, you have your file from where you can create new design files, new FigJam files, and then you can download, you can pull in files from Sketch, etc. You have your edits, you have your view. Under your view, you can turn off or turn on your layout grids, your rulers. You can show the slices. So slicing is a concept that used to be very popular in web design several years ago. You can show the comments or turn it off. Outlines, you can show the outlines, pixel preview, mask outlines, frame outlines, etc. Zoom out, zoom in. So these are shortcuts also. So if you want to zoom in, you can do Control plus plus. If you want to zoom out, that's Control plus minus. Zoom to 100%, Control plus 0, and all that. So the more you design, the more you get familiar with the shortcuts. Then text. If you're dealing with text, you can make it bold, italic, underline, strike through, create link and all that. Your vectors. You can join selections, you can smooth. So in design, there are things we call vectors. Let me just, I'm sure a lot of us see that and we don't know what vectors are. So you have vectors and you have bitmaps, right? So vectors are images that can be stretched to infinity, and they would not lose, they will not pixelate, or they would not lose their quality, right? While the bitmaps are like real images, like my picture, it's a bitmap file. And when you stretch it, it would lose quality because, it might be sharpest at maybe 40 pixel by 40 pixel, but when you stretch it to 1600 pixel by 1600 pixel, you see it loses a lot of its quality. So in creating logos and things like that, you want to use vectors and not bitmaps, So I just thought I should let you know about that. So you have plugins that you can attach to this and all. But since this is a master class, I'm going to cut right down to the meat of the matter. So you can move items on your canvas with this move tool, and then you can scale items on your canvas. So for example, if we have this rectangle, let's make it a square, and you can actually make that adjustment here, and let's make it 120 by 120, right? So that's a square. Now if I want to move this guy and I pull from the side, we see it's no longer a square, right? It's now a rectangle. But how do we adjust this guy without losing the squareness of the shape? So there are two ways. We can scale, right? And when we select this scale, if we pull here, it's going to retain its proportions, right? It's a square still. So that's what the scale does. So let's Control Z and see another way we can do that. So again, we'll come here, it's 120 by 120. Now there's what we'll call constrain. You constrain the proportions, right? If I select this guy and click on it, the middle line there shows that it's going to be constrained when I pull it. It's similar to, so I'm going to unselect the scale, so I'm not scaling, right? So right now I'm going to just use constraint. So if I pull, sorry, give me a second. So you have to select your shift also when you pull. So you select your shift and pull, and then it's going to be constrained. The proportions will be constrained. So I'm going back, select your, put your hand on your shift and pull, and then it gets constrained. So we'll move on to the next one, which is one of the most important, and that's the frame, right? Now when you select the frame, you see this section immediately changes, and you can see phone, you can see tablet, you can see desktop, you can see presentation, watch, paper, social media, Figma Community Archive, whatever. So if you want to design for social media, Twitter post, you can select that here. If you want to design for Facebook, if you want to design for Instagram, you can do all that here. If you want to design for phone, what type of phone? So it has your Android large, Android small, so much discrimination when it comes to Android and iPhone. Now see all the options here for iPhone. You have iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, iPhone SE, iPhone 13 mini, iPhone 14 plus iPhone 13 and 14, 14 and 15 Pro, 14 and 15 Pro Max. So select one, and it's going to give you the proportions here, right? So we'll move this to the side, and let's zoom out to see what we're working with. And let's say we also want to design for desktop. Now, are you designing for MacBook Air, or are you designing for TV, or wireframe, or desktop? So desktop and wireframe have the same dimension. So if you select any one, it's basically the same thing. So the dimensions are there. So if we come here again, you see the dimensions by the side. So for MacBook Air is 1280 by 832, and MacBook Pro is 1512 by 982. So I'm going to delete this guy. So we have these dimensions for iPhone and these dimensions for wireframe. Now we have sections, if you want to put sections within your design, if you want to slice. So slicing is a concept, that was very popular several years ago. If you ever designed using Dreamweaver and things like that. Now we have the shapes, right? We have your rectangle, your line, arrows, ellipse, polygon, star, and then you can, place image and videos and all that. And then you have your pen tool and your pencil tool. So for your pencil tool, for example, if you want, let's say you have a stylus and you want to do freehand writing, you can do things like this with your pencil tool. And if I had a stylus, it would be much better than this. And you can now actually do freehand writing, to give probably some sections of your page some level of sophistication. And you can go ahead and work on this to smoothen things out. Like, a second. Oops. So we won't be going into that actually here. I see that we've crossed the 1 hour mark, so I'll just stick with the designs that we're going to make. And then you have your pen tool. So this pen tool can be, if you're not very used to it, it can be very problematic. But if you practice the use of it very well, it can actually help for you to create your own designs here. So I was a graphic artist, and I guess that helps in some way for me to achieve some of this a little easier. So you can actually make designs here and use them in your design. So freehand designs, instead of so there is a site, I think it's Bezier bezier.com or something, where you can actually go and practice this. And they give you several, they make it look like a game. So the more you practice, the more you get better at using this tool. So in graphic design tools, they call this the Bezier tool, Bezier. Now, you also have this bend tool that can help you bend things. You have your paint bucket that can help you copy and put color into different shapes. You have your text tool. Now you can also constrain your text over here. So if I want to constrain this, I make it fixed width, but if I want it to flow, I make it auto width. And so auto width is it keeps expanding as I go. But if I make it fixed width, then as I keep going, it keeps dropping, right? So it's not going to go beyond that width. So that's your text. And so you can also create what we call text styles. So if, for example, I have this text here and I have, let's say, another one here that is my header, and I've decided, okay, you know what, for this design, I want my header to be, let's say the font size should be what? The font size for the header should be 48. And I call this the body. Okay, let's make 3 headers. So there's a main header, there's a subheader that should be about 36, and then there's the body that should be 12. So if I don't want to keep, you know, going here and selecting the text style and whatever, or text properties, I'll just go ahead and make this a text style. So when you come to text, you see these 4 dots here. Let's break the style here. And then when you come to text styles, this button, you create a style. And let's call this header 1. And then let's call this header 2. And then let's call this body content. Or whatever you want to call it, right? So there's no textbook name for the styles. So now if I am working and I type out a couple of gibberish here, and I say this guy should be a header, you know, what do? I come to text. So it's on body content right now. I'll break this off because it shouldn't be body content, and I'll come and I'll select header 1. So you see the way it applies immediately. So that's how to create text styles. Okay. Now, resources are things that you are going to be using, within your design. So you can browse to library and get the resources you want. That you're going to be using. Then this is for panning. So let me show you the effect here. So if you want to pan things around, right, you use that hand to pan things around. So at times you might have this whole canvas full with different designs, and you want to pan things a bit to the left or a bit to the right or to the top and all. So you use that hand. And then you have your comment. So remember, I said, this platform is very good for collaboration. So you come here and you make a comment, header style too big. Let's consider reducing by 2px, and then you make your header. And then when Basil comes, sorry, you make your comment, and then when Basil comes and clicks on the comment, he's able to see your comment here. And if he's worked on it, adjusted it by 2 pixels, then he can come here. Sorry. He can come here and mark as resolved, right? So, so that's headers for you. So I'll delete this thread. Okay. Sorry, and I'll get out of header. I'm sorry, comments. I'll get out of comment. I'll delete this. So I'll go back to my selection tool. And then over here, so I'm going to create two things. I'm going to create text, and then I'm going to create two boxes, one box and two box. This will be a little longer. Now, I've finished this design. I've given it to the developer. Instead of the developer to come here and be wondering what are the dimensions, what are the colors and all, he can come here and he can see this and just copy it out, to know the whole size of the platform. And then if, for example, he's interested in this, then he clicks on it and he takes it. If he's interested in this, all the properties and the styles are present here for the developer. So that's what this is, the dev mode. So this is very important section for the developers, so they don't have to imagine or click around too much. So they can just copy the CSS or whatever there and paste into their code and they are good. Now, if again I've finished designing, I want to see how this looks, I go to the present. So this is how it looks within the phone, right? So I'll go out of here and then we'll start our design. All right. So I have a quick exercise that we're going to do. So we're going to design an e-book marketing page, and we're going to have a splash page which contains the um, header section. Header section would be our logo, our menu, our body. Sorry, our logo and our menu, and the menu will be company about us, reviews, contact, and order now button. And then the body would be the left section, which is an iframe showing the book, and the right section should contain the heading, description of the ebook, email, text box, and download now button, and then social media icons. And then we can also create a company page if time will allow us. So we'll go right down into it. And usually there's what they call mobile first design, because most people nowadays would view things on their phone, right? So you have to start your design with mobile and then you move to desktop. But I'm going to do it the inverse way for presentation purposes and for real estate purposes. So I'll quickly rush through the web design, the desktop design, and then we'll go into the mobile design. So I'll delete all this and I'll call this splash page. Remember, always title, right? So typically they'll, oh, sorry, I said I was going to do the desktop first. So we'll do the desktop first. I'll push this aside. I'll call this the splash page. So we typically will have 3 sections on our page. Remember our holy grail, the holy grail I talked about. Sorry, just give me a second. So I talked about the anatomy. We have the layout, structure, we have typography, we have color scheme, we have visual elements, we have interactive elements, we have the content, spacing, and but to sum this all up, there's just going to be a header, a footer, and then the middle section, right? So I'm going to zoom out a bit, and it says our header has the logo, then it has this menu. So we have company about us, reviews, and contact. Company about us, reviews, and contact. So let's say we represent the menu with buttons, right? Let's give it a different color so it stands out. So I talked about hexadecimal codes. So this is the color here. If, for example, you want to, let's say we make this black. Let's just make this black, right? So black in design is usually 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's black. And in design, white is, 6 Fs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's white. So if, for example, I make this black, right? And I want to copy the hexadecimal code here. I'll just select this, come here, and paste, right? Transferred. So that's what the hexadecimal code is. There's also the RBG, red, blue, and green, which are primary colors and all. So I don't think time would allow us to go into that. So this is hex here. This is RBG. So RBG for black is 245, 245, 245, right? So that's RBG. You have your CSS, you have your HSL. There's also the CYMK, but I'm going too far into design. Okay, so we have 4 buttons here. Sorry, 4 menus. Now, how do I place these guys in an aesthetically pleasing way such that the space between them is equal? Simple. I'll just select the 4 of them and I'll come here to this top and I'll say distribute horizontal spacing. So if I distribute, then it would, let's say this guy was here. Let's say I did the clunky work and the spacing between the 4 of them is not equal. So I'll come here, distribute horizontal spacing, and just see how things will shift, right? Okay, so I'll come in here and I will enter the company, about us, reviews, and contacts. So I come to text, company, but then I don't want this. So I come here and I'll break the style. Where are you? Where are you? Text. Oh, I don't have styles created here. Oh, yeah. I'll break the style and then I'll do body content, but that will be too small. So I'll just create a style for logo. Let me create a style for logo. But I'm missing something, which is very important. So I talked about here, file, sorry, view. Now there's what we'll call the layout grid. Let me select layout grid. It's not showing, right? Now we have the layout grid and we have the rulers. Rulers will always show, you just basically drag for you to align your elements properly. But the grid would not show. And for me, the grid is more important than the ruler. So to delete the ruler, I'll just click on this and delete, or I'll drag it back to where I got it from, throw it there and it's hide. Now the layout grid, I select this guy at the top, I come to layout grid here, I click on this guy, sorry, what am I doing? So I select this guy, layout grid, I click on this, excuse me, this is interrupt. So I click on the plus and you see this grid, but these are too many grids, and it's not going to be helpful to me. So what do? I select this and I come here and I come to the drop down and I select columns. By default, there are 5 columns, right? Now, why do I need this grid? Because I'm going to be placing different elements on this page, I want some form of guide for where I'll put those elements. And what do I mean by that? So first of all, let's come back to the grid, and for desktop, I usually prefer 12, and then there's what they call margin. Let's go with 30 for margin. Margin is the white space at the side. For now, margin is 0, and that's why you can't see anything. But I've taken it to 30, and so that's my grid, right? If I just want to turn this off, I'll do Shift G, combine Shift and G. If I want to turn it back on, Shift G, right? For mobile, I usually prefer sorry, why does this keep interfering? So for mobile, I usually prefer 6. Sorry, not this. Grid columns, 6 columns. And we can, so the gutter is the space between the grid, the white lines between the grids. The margin is the space at the end, the white space at the sides. So we can do a gutter of, let's try 16, and margin of 20 for mobile, and let's see how that goes. So yeah, this works perfectly for me. The gutter for this is bigger, right? The gutter for this is 20 and my margin is 30, and I think that works perfect for me. So I'll go back here. So now that I've laid out my grid, that means I'm not going to go beyond these spaces, these lines here. Okay. All right. Now, text. So I can't see my text because it's black. So I'll just make it white. Or I'll go the way I told you, FFF. Now again, I've made it black, white, but why is it not showing? That means here it's lower than the rectangles. Now this is what we call layers on the left hand side, right? And the layering concept is used in a lot of graphic design software. Now for me to take this guy up, I just drag it and push it at the top, and then now it's showing, right? And maybe I need to make the text a bit bigger. So it's using body content, but I don't want that. So I'm just going to give it, let's make it 15. Now, it is here, but for some reason, it's not at the center of this box. It kind of looks like there's more space on the left. How do we address that? So we select the text, we select the box. At the top here, now select the text, hold down on your shift key, and then select the box. That way you're selecting both. Now come here and do this. Did you see the change? It's perfectly center of the box right now. So we're just going to duplicate this, Control D. Control D would duplicate, Control D again, Control D will duplicate. So we're going to treat the alignments separately. But first of all, let's get this correct. So company, about us, reviews, contact. About us, reviews, contact. So for each one, let's align them to their box. So you select the text, shift, select the box, and this, oops. Select the text, shift, select the box, and this. select the text, shift, select the box and this, select the text, shift, select the box and this. Now, these texts, some are up, some are down, how do you correct that? So you can just come here, well, after selecting all of them, holding down your shift key, and then you can distribute vertically. Okay. Um, we can do this and then bring them down a bit. And then lastly, we should have a button that says, so we'll probably want that button to be here. Oops. The button that says order now. Order now. And we'll make it red. So we'll put it at the center of this guy. And we'll make the button, the call to action button, red. So it's very catchy. Everybody can see that you need to order. And we'll probably make this bold. So I'm rushing through things for time. And it says on the left, it has an iframe showing the book. So let's just create an iframe for the left section. So recall that we have six what you may call it, 12 grids. So we can do 6 for each section. So I'll just duplicate this and put this here, and that will just guide, what will be on the other side. So it says it has an iframe with a book. Let's see if we can get a book into here. File, place image, document, H.O.P.S. Do we have a book? Okay. So let's place a book here. All right, that works. So if I want to see how it looks, I'll just Shift G and take out the grid. Okay. Okay, this works for me. And for the right section, it says heading, description of the book, and then email, text box, download button, then social media icons. All right. So we have heading. So we can just come here and get our header. Different winter. But this is a very shy header, so we're going to use our style, header 1. Yep. And then we're going to put text here for the content of the book. So in this kind of instance, this is where I employ my ruler. I probably want, to guide this a bit. So I want everything to fall within that section. And then I put my text. Now for text, there's what they call lorem ipsum generator. So you can just come to Google and type in lorem ipsum generator, and then you can come here. Um, so this is it here, lorem ipsum. This is used in a lot of designs. Um, if you don't have text to use, you just go and get the gibberish. Put this here and paste, and our style should be body content, but body content is too small, so um, that was actually for demonstration purposes. So let's actually put something here that makes better sense. All right, so we have this here, and then next thing is we're going to put an email box. So we can just make it, we can make this white so we can see it. And then we just duplicate it and also create a button here. And the button is order now, you know, order now. We can just make it red. Now, what color of red are we making it? The same way we created style here, we can also create, you know, but for this, I'll just copy this hexadecimal code and paste this here, you know, so it's the same red, white, and Control B. Now there's something called components. I know I should be rounding off right now. So there's something called component. Assuming we want, okay, first of all, let's import our logo before I forget. So we have our logo here. Oh no. No. Should be import. So the thing is, I don't want to place it in, okay, I'll just get it. and then I'll resize it. I broke some of the cardinal rules there. I would have used this to scale, but I'm trying to. So that's the logo of the site. Um, you know, the name can be there. Now, I wanted to show us components, how we can reuse stuff, right? Assuming we have this button, I want to reuse it, or let's say this button. I want to reuse it across different sections. So I can just Control G, select both the name and the box, Control G, and it's grouped into one, right? And I can right click on it and say create component. And what does that mean, really? So if I come into assets, I see it, right? The order now button. Let's say I'm designing for my mobile. I can just drag it and put it there, right? So I don't need to copy and paste, and all. So I can drag as many instances of it. And the beauty of this is, let's say I decide that, oops, it shouldn't be red, it should be green. I can just right click on this and say go to main component, because I don't know which one is the first one. And see the beauty of it. It takes me to the very first instance, right? And then I can change this here. Let me just copy this guy and put on my clipboard. So I can change this here to green. And now let's see what happens. Everywhere it's used is green. So I don't have to go from page to page, and change stuff. Now, if I want to change only one, then I don't have to go to main component, right? I can just go ahead and change this. And only it will change. So this is the use of component. It helps you, it helps for reusability. So assuming you have 20 pages, now imagine if you have to go and change the order now button in every one of them. So maybe I'm talking too much. I'll just go back to and make the change here and change it back to what it was. And it should be red all over. Okay. So if we come here, we see that it's red again. So we've done some stuff. Now, how do we get our social media links? So there's a trick, right? If I don't want to go and pay for icons, I can just come here and say free social media links, Figma. So Figma has a couple of these, right? Sorry, social media icons. But it will ask me, to open, if I want to open it in Figma, and if I click yes, then it will take me to Figma. It will take me to Figma desktop most times if my desktop is open. Well, this time it's opening here, so yeah, good for us. So we have this here, right? But how do we assess this? So that's the challenge. Do we check under this, or do we go to layers, or is it under thumbnails? So if you want against a black background, you can take these ones. If you want against a white background, you can take this one. So it's usually under thumbnails. So for now, I'll just take LinkedIn. Pinterest or Pinterest, whatever. Which other social media platform? Where is Twitter? X, okay, and Instagram. Okay, yeah, this should do for now. So I have these guys here. I'll just line them up here. So this is for the author. So I can just say something like connect with the author. On these platforms, right? And then I'll just so I have finished design. I'm not going to bother with what are the footer. I'll finish the design. Now I want to test, you know. So my prototype is where is my desktop? Where is Surface? So let's see how it looks. Okay, so it's presenting the wrong thing. I'm going to close this. So I'll come here, select this guy. I'll come to prototype settings. I'll select this guy again at the top. Guys. So let's preview first of all. So this is how our website looks. Not bad, eh? So if we worked a bit more on the, so just for consistency, let's get the color of this guy here. Color of this guy here. And then, you know, the usual things. Copyright. Whatever. And, you know, so this is our design. Not the best because of time. If we're to replicate this, and I'm not going to do that, you know, it will be something like this, and then this, and then we get this guy over, and then we get, remember I talked about the hamburger menu. We can create one ourselves, you know, basically this. So something like this will be our hamburger menu. So let's constrain this, and then let's size it. So instead of having these links at the top, they are going to be only accessible when you click on this hamburger menu, and then they will pop out, you know, like a panel here, right? And so it will be, they will be in a panel here like this, whatever color, you know, you think it should be. So again, layers. That's why I'm not able to see this. So I'm going to take this guy down. Where are these guys? So this guy should be all the way down. So this is basically how it is. Then you have your home and whatever. So if you are designing this, you design without, first of all, the home page where the hamburger menu has not been interacted with, and then you design the home page where it has been interacted with and what will show up here, you know, however it will show up. So that's pretty much it. I wish we could go further than this, but this, you know, as you know, is a 2-hour master class. So I will take questions now. Samuel?
Yes, thank you, Basil. That's yeah. Again, thank you for the presentation. Awesome stuff. And yes, you're right. Questions now. I want to respect our audience time, but questions now, and then we'll allow Aditon to give us a goodbye message at the end. But that's keep going. Go with the questions now. Thank you. This is a good time to ask questions, everybody. Any questions before we close the session about the
Hey,
presentation live
I
training?
have a
Yeah.
question. Faisal. My name is Ankur, and I'm trying to get into the BA phase. And I really like the presentation, how you presented small things in a short span of time. I was trying to follow you up, but I think I got missed with the rectangles where you were trying to cope up with input and straight line. It would be really grateful if I can get a recorded version of this so that I can follow up back again on the Figma prototypes and make it more easier. Practice myself and uh, take things from there and become better at it.
Okay. So Samuel, I don't know the presentations will the recordings be made available?
Yes, the recording will be made available at the H.O.P.S YouTube website, which we are going to share at the end. Actually, we have been doing it, and Addison just put it again on the chat. But yes, that's correct. If there's any like to go to the presentation again and to the training, please go back to our YouTube channel and you'll find it there for practicing and for references. That's correct, Basil.
Okay.
So everything would be uploaded on the YouTube. Is that what Samuel said, if I get it correctly?
Yes, yes, Anchor. You can see we have the link on the chat and you can
That it's sure. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
yeah, and same
Much
for
appreciated.
everyone. If there's anything you'd like to go back or review again, all presentations for all master classes will be uploaded on YouTube.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you.
And
John?
how soon should I expect this video to be uploaded on the YouTube channel? Just curious.
Say with the next, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Samuel, that sometime within this week, you'd get an upload, and we would send out an email to everyone that attended it as soon as it's up on the YouTube.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All
Much
right.
appreciated.
Thank you. Back to you, Samuel.
So we have John Oseni. John, you can go ahead.
Can we all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let me start by appreciating the organizers. H.O.P.S, the H.O.P.S team, from the convener, the initiator, about Shokbe Adito, Samuel, and our Hebrew facilitator tonight, Basil. Thank you for that insightful, session. My first question is, what would you advise for someone who's trying to get into the BA space? In view of what we have been taught tonight, a prototyping tool, in terms of, would you say, one have not actually aced a job in the BA analysis, business analysis space, or would you just say one should just keep trying his hands on what has been taught tonight? Of course, there are still gray areas, which I understand, will actually be perfected as one gets his hands dirty in it. So, your humble advice. Then, secondly, I would like to ask Adito and the other team members of H.O.P.S, how long will the sessions that I believe will be uploaded on the YouTube? How long is it going to be forever, or does it have a timeline they're going to be there? And then, lastly, back to Basil. Is it compulsory? Because I know that the UI, from my knowledge of, the UI UX designer, are we trying to get as a BA? If one has a job in BA, are you going to be saddled with this responsibility of designing this prototype, or is the work of the UI UX design? Thank you.
Okay. Adito, I'll let you answer first as per how long the uploads will be. The sessions will be on YouTube, and then I'll answer his other questions.
Thank you, Basil. So I will say we don't currently have a time limit for most of the sessions we put on YouTube, just leave there. But if you would have a time limit, we would communicate that to you. And I've also put in the dates for our next sessions as well, so that you can follow up on those on the chat. Back to you, Basil.
Okay. Yeah. To get into the business analysis profession, there are different ways to get in, And I always say, whatever you're doing right now, there is some form of business analysis involved in your work. Whether you're an accountant, or you're in customer service or whatever, there is some level of business analysis involved in the job. It's just that you don't have the official title. So what I would suggest is to find, a way of formalizing the approach towards the business analysis work. And, that would be through training with 6 dots or whichever place you prefer, training, a lot of reading and videos. And one thing that I find helps also is to have a portfolio. So give yourself projects, right? Try to design a learning platform and go through the stages of, understanding the functional aspects of it, the non-functional aspects within the system, and kind of lay it out, create different artifacts. And that is something that can help you when you start interviewing for jobs or start looking for openings. It helps to know that you have that level of interest where you've, gone ahead and created artifacts. So we are not coming to train you from zero, right? At least there's a place where you've already gotten to, and all we're just going to do is a helping hand, to get you to where we need you to be. I guess that's how a lot of hiring managers look at it, So yeah, keep improving your skills. Now, when it comes to UI, UX design and system design, and whether that is the role of a BA, so a BA wears several hats. I've been in situations where I was the project manager, I was the QA, and I was also the BA, right? So you should just make yourself that resource that everybody comes to. You should be able to, you should be adaptable, you should adapt and adopt. I guess those are the words that go well for a BA. You should be able to adapt and then adopt new ways of doing things. So I hope that answers it. In several organizations right now, they hire a UI UX person who tends to don't want to be called to do it and not know how to do it. It's better you know how to do and don't really need it than to need it and don't know how to do it. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay, so we'll take one more question. Actually, it's from the chat. Nardo just is asking Basil regarding the and functionalities for business analysts, Scrum Masters, and product owners. What is your focus on regarding Figma?
What is my focus on Figma? Sorry, I didn't hear that too well.
No, so for the following roles, asking for business analysts, Scrum Masters, or product owners. So these roles, what is your focus on regarding Figma?
Okay, so Figma is a tool, right? And prototyping is an aid in telling a story. So you want to tell your stakeholders, your stakeholders give you requirements, and then you want to say your requirements. This is how I understand it. So Figma is just a tool that you use in, relaying back that information, and also to clarify information. So whether you are within a Scrum team. Now, something about Scrum is Scrum says that the team should have all the skills needed to bet the product, right? and the Scrum team, basically the product owner, the Scrum master, and then the developers. Within development team, you can be a BA and a UI UX person. I've been in a team where the developer was the UI UX person, but because I was also the BA and I had UI UX experience, we were collaborating. I don't know if that answers the question. So there is no, so Figma is not the focus. The focus is the technique, which is prototyping. So you can use PowerPoint, you can use Balsamic, you can use Sketch, and today we just decide, that Figma is what we'll be focusing on. So there is really no focus on Figma, but the technique, which is a requirement gathering or elicitation or clarification technique.
Great. Great. Thank you, Basil. This has been great. A lot of information. Actually, I learned myself a lot. I never had so much exposure to Figma. So I want you to please everyone to put your hands together remotely and let's thank Basil for this great training today. We really appreciate it. And thank you everyone actually for joining us today, lasting with us these 2 hours. It's no waste. It's been just amazing. So now I will pass it along to my colleague, Aditon. She has a message for us. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was speaking. I just realized you didn't hear me speak. Thank you so much again, Basil. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's session. I actually wanted to, this is the screen I wanted to share. So as most of you know, this session came to you free of charge, right? But it came at a cost to the people, to the organizers, and to our speakers. We had Bano yesterday, so we've gone through Figma with Basil. And these sessions of masterclasses have been powered by 6dots.io. And 6dots.io is in the business of transforming professionals, like whether you're like in a new, like you're a new graduate or you're trying to transition into another career. We are in the business of transforming through training, coaching, mentoring, and all of that. And I just wanted to let you know about some of the upcoming courses that we have. I don't know if everyone sees my screen. So we have the Q3 calendar up on the board. We have the project management deep dive from July 20 to September. We also have the PMP bootcamp from July the 3rd to August 15. And we have the business analysis certification, which is the CBAP bootcamp coming up between the 2nd of July and the 10th of August. And we also have the business analysis immersion program, which would be more hands-on. You would have like subject matter experts taking you through the process, and you get your hands dirty within a project by actually working on a project, and that can count as experience for you. And we also have the Agile Immersion program, as well as the Safe Scrum Master. You can see all the dates on the screen, and you can register using the website there, 6dots.io. If you are not able to get this, what's at the end, like just going on the website and looking at our programs would lead you to the right one. And just because you are part of this master classes, you can use a discount code to get some percentage. I think it was 10% off, but I would confirm. I'm just speaking on behalf of 6dots here. You can get some percentage off the cost of the classes. You can put in the discount code H.O.P.S, which is helping other people succeed. And that's all I had for today. Thank you again for joining. We've put in details of our next few sessions. Next week, we would be having some deep dive into business analysis as well. And some of these classes would take you, further away from the bootcamp and deep into those subject matters. Thank you again, and over to you, Samuel, for any last comments.
Thank you, Adeton. And thank you, everyone, actually. Very happy, excited for this masterclass. Again, Basil, thank you for your expertise, your knowledge. Thank you for driving us through Figma. And again, everyone, we really appreciate your support joining us today. Again, like Adeton mentioned, next week we have another 2 sessions. So please stay tuned. You can follow H.O.P.S on LinkedIn. That's the best way to stay actually active with us, knowing the next programs that we have. Again, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Basil. Thank you, Adeton. I'll see you next week. Have a good Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Basil.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Adeto. Thanks, Samuel.
Thank you so much, Basil. That was so helpful. New for me.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.